Good evening and welcome to Paranormal Lens. I'm Chad Thomas. This is Jamie Widener, and we're with Jott-Nyx Paranormal. We are here tonight to talk something. How's it going, Jamie?
I'm going to tell you first, Chad, I'm really disappointed you didn't start this episode in full Japanese. What the heck?
I'm not the one who spent 2 weeks in Japan. My son's not around.
All right. It's all good. Life is good, buddy. How you been?
I've been good. Busy. I have not been studying Japanese. Hey, Jenny, how are you? So, Jamie, Jenny is the friend who manages the Ritz Theater, and definitely want to get over there and investigate. So yeah.
Good.
So anyway,
we'll travel. So
yep, exactly. So yeah, it's been a busy week. How about you?
We did something Saturday, right?
We did. We had an investigation.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
that was 3 days ago, and it seems so long ago already. It's nuts, it does, right? Yep. It was just a busy Sunday, and then we have some westbound travelers in the family, so off to college visits. So everybody's out of the house right now except me and the dog. So I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm not saying it's bad either.
Right.
I think since we moved here 3 years ago, it's the first time I've had the house to myself. So
wow,
it's been pretty cool. And what have I done? Absolutely nothing, like chores and stuff. So
right. Well, you need days like that. So
yeah, I get caught up on stuff, right? Nobody's here to interrupt. So
yep,
good work getting done. So and some Phillies games. So
yeah, well, that's good. That's important too. So
yep.
So anyway, yeah, we had a good investigation the other night. It was didn't need that.
No.
But
makes you big enough for this. No.
So yeah, it was an interesting investigation because people kept falling off, and we ended up with a really small amount at the end.
Yeah.
It was great because David and I got to go down to the catacombs all by ourselves for the last session.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and we didn't get a lot of activity, but it was still, it was nice just to investigate with David one-on-one, and yeah. Anyway, so
that's a true thing with like folks I said passing out. That sounds bad. Dropping off. We advertise the events to be an investigation, which I guess doesn't always resonate with folks how long that actually is. I recall having a conversation near the end of the night with folks just saying how late this is. It was 2:00, and it is late. Yes, don't get me wrong. But, then it was followed with, I think Kirsten or somebody saying, well, if you were out at like an investigation at a site somewhere, you'd have the place until, dawn.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, we were talking about it.
Yep. And the eyes lit up, like brighten up, like, wow, and we've done it, certainly we've done it many, many times where we've been out till, we came home with the chickens, whatever it is, the saying goes, the cows, sorry, the cow, it was a farm animal, the cows come home. So,
well, I remember at West Virginia, you and I were there, and the sun was coming up and the birds were chirping, and it was so.
Oh, many times, even places like White Hill, we've been there, and the haze over the cloud, the hill there is kind of the brightening of the skies. I mean, it's a nice drive home too, when it's light versus middle of the night dark. So it's a pop in, pop out location, which makes it all the more awesomer than it already is. But the idea that was late was kind of not comical, but it was
right.
Once the reality of it, we know much later than this. That's like break time, 2 a.m., right?
Exactly. But again, people don't know that and don't understand it, and but that's part of the training. So
yeah, and it's really cool too that folks have the opportunity to stay there as a hotel space on the upper floor, even across the street, the Malt Baron House. So some folks had planned ahead and actually had rooms. It was still just too late for them.
Right.
So at least they didn't have far to travel, just a couple, flight of stairs, crash out. So not so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're here, right?
No, we are here to talk about something that I didn't know much about when I went into this. Yūrei, or Yūrei, depending how you want to interpret the word, which is a Japanese word for ghost spirit. We'll dig into that a little bit. So, anything else before we jump into it?
I'm also disappointed that you're not doing a bad Saturday afternoon Godzilla lip read thing as well with this. So I'm just voicing my concerns now. Come on, dude. So let's go find out about the Yūrei.
All right. So anyway, the Yūrei. I was looking for something different because we do a lot of supernatural superstitions, haunted places, cryptids, and things like that. So I was looking for a different topic. I came across the term Yūrei, and I didn't know what it was, so I decided to jump in and investigate it. It looked interesting, and it didn't hurt that my son had been sending me pictures from Japan for 2 weeks, and I was looking at all those cool pagodas and things like that. And it was interesting. So you want to go ahead and jump to the next slide? I also thought it was fitting that summer in Japan is ghost season, which I did not realize. The windows of every bookshop display tales of spirits, monsters, and things they're nestled between strings of paper lanterns. During the humid, uncomfortable nights, people huddle together to share these stories. There's nothing quite like the prickly, icy feeling of fear crawling over your skin to fend off the relentless heat. Now, forget about the floating white sheets with unfinished business who will disappear to rest peacefully once their task is done. In Japan, there is a detailed classification system for different types of ghosts. So, we'll start digging into that. Yūrei is the Japanese counterpart to the Western ghost. The name Yūrei consists of two kanji, yu meaning faint and ri meaning soul or spirit. The concept of the Yūrei in Japanese folklore can be traced back to the Tokugawa period, which started in 1603. Yūrei are typically known for haunting a specific time and location, usually based around the time of their death, but we will see that is not always the case. The first known artwork of the Yūrei is credited to Maruyama Okya in his 18th century silk scroll painting, Oyuki no Maburishi, sorry. Can you go to the next slide? According to the inscription on the painting, Okyo had a mistress in the Tamanaga geisha house. She died young, and Okyo mourned her death. One night, her spirit came to him in a dream. Unable to get her image out of his head, he painted this portrait. This is one of the earliest paintings of the Yūrei with the late Edo period ghost characteristics: disheveled hair, white kimono, limp wrists, nearly transparent, and a lack of a lower body. Now, we know that the Western world believes that we have a soul that leaves our body when we die. The Japanese believe they have a soul called a reikon. When a person dies, the reikon leaves the human body and goes to a place of waiting or purgatory until the funeral and all other rites are performed. At this point, it joins other ancestors in protecting the family. During the Obon festival every year, the reikon will return to visit the family. The Obon festival is a Buddhist tradition that honors the spirits of departed ancestors. Families travel to their ancestral places to visit and clean the graves of their loved ones. This is the normal path for a Japanese soul. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. When a person dies in a sudden or violent manner, such as murder, suicide, or an accident, or if the funeral rites have not been administered, the reikon instead becomes a Yūrei. If the person was influenced by strong emotions, such as revenge, love, jealousy, hatred, or sorrow, they may also become a Yūrei. The Yūrei will continue to exist until the passing on is justified by either completing what it wanted or the missing rites have been performed. A Yūrei is typically seen in traditional white clothing with black disheveled hair, like we said. The hands and feet can be seen dangling from the wrists and ankles. Now, something that differs in comparison to the Western counterparts are the types of spirits. There are actually seven different types of Yūrei. They are the Onryo, Ubumi, Goryo, Funa-Yūrei, Zashiki Warash, Fu-Yūrei, and Jabakuri. There's going to be a test on those at the end, Jamie.
I got it.
Each type is tied to either the human spirit that it came from or the place that was important to them. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Let's first look at the Onryo. The kanji for this word are on, meaning vengeful, and ryo, meaning spirit. They are ghosts that come back to seek retribution from those that wronged them. This type of Yūrei is believed to be able to physically interact with the living world. They can cause harm by hurting or killing their enemies, or cause natural disasters to avenge the wrongs done to them while they were alive. Three great onryo of Japan are Emperor Sutoku, Taira no Masakado, and Sugawara no Michizain. After each died with resentment and anger, there was a series of deaths of political opponents, natural disasters, and wars. I also found reference to this type of spirit associated with the Okigara forest. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. As an example, the headstone mound of Taira no Masakoda, located between the skyscrapers near Tokyo Station, was to be moved several times as part of urban redevelopment projects. But each move resulted in the death of a construction worker and a series of accidents. Although the buildings surrounding the Taira no Masakoda mound have been rebuilt many times, the mound has remained intact between the high-rise buildings. Even today, the mound is carefully maintained. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. Onryo are used as subjects in various traditional Japanese performing arts such as no, kabuki, rakugo, and for example, this is a hanya, which is a no mask representing a female onryo. So that's pretty scary looking.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next slide, please. The next in our list is the Go-ryo. The name consists of two kanji, meaning go, meaning honorable, and ryo, meaning solar spirit. So the Go-ryo is an onryo that has been elevated to a status of reverence. The Sandi Jitsuroku, a historical Japanese text, mentions that 6 Shinto shrines were dedicated to the worship of Goryo. Later on, 2 more shrines were added, bringing the total to 8. As an example, and you've heard this name before, government official Sugawara no Michizain was killed in a plot by a rival member of the Fujiwara clan. In the years after his death, the capital city was struck by heavy rain and lightning, and his chief Fujiwara adversary and Emperor Daigo's crown prince died, while fires caused by lightning and floods destroyed many residents. The court drew the conclusion that the disturbances were caused by Michizain's onryo. In order to placate him, the emperor restored all offices, burned the official order of exile, and he was promoted to senior second rank. Even this wasn't enough, and 70 years later, Michizain was deified as Tenji-sama, which means heavenly deity. He became the patron god of calligraphy, of poetry, and of those who suffer injustice. A shrine was established at Kitano. With the support of the government, it was immediately raised to a first rank of official shrines. So from this, you can see that a spirit can start as an onryo and then be elevated to a go-ryo. Go ahead and go to our next slide. The third type of Yūrei, or Funa Yūrei, are boat spirits, which are spirits that have become onryo at sea. They have been passed down in the folklore of various areas of Japan. They frequently appear in ghost stories and miscellaneous writings from the Edo period, as well as in modern folk customs. Funa Yūrei are ghosts believed to use a hashiku, or ladle, to fill boats with water and make them sink. They are said to be the remnants of people who have died in shipwrecks and are attempting to cause humans to join them. According to legends, there are various methods that can be used to protect from the harm they inflict, such as throwing an onigiri, or rice balls, into the sea, or preparing a hashiku with its bottom missing. You just take the ladle out of the bottom out of the ladle, and then they can't use it to put water in the boat. They're also called mojubuni, boko, or ayakashi, depending on the region. Their appearances are depicted in legends their appearance as depicted in legends varies widely depending on the area they're from. There are stories of ghosts that appear above the water that take a humanoid fish shape, of boats that are ghost ships themselves, or ghosts that appear on human-occupied ships. Sometimes they are described as appearing like an umibuzu, a giant black human-like figure, or as an atmospheric ghost-like. There are many legends of Yūrei at sea, but they have also been described as appearing in rivers, lakes, and swamps of inland areas. They often appear on rainy days, nights on a full or new moon, stormy nights, and foggy nights. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. I don't know if you remember or not when we talked about the Dragon Triangle, but one of the things we talked about was the Toyo Maru, which was one of the biggest shipping accidents since World War II. Now, this story dates back to 1954. The ferry boat that replaced the Toyo Maru was discovered to have a strange scar on its propeller. This started stories of how the victims of the accident turned into Yūrei and dug claws into the propellers. These Toyo Maru spirits appear at land and at sea and on land. There's a story that at midnight, a female appears completely wet riding in a taxi. She would disappear once she reached her destination. In Oamori Station, the staff members who slept in the night duty room would wake up to the sound of banging on the glass. They would see the hand of a completely wet female on the other side. These were both believed to be spirits of the Toyo Maru victims. All right, so let's jump to the next slide. So moving from ghosts at sea to ghosts in the home, we will look at the Zashiki Warashi, or parlor children, next. In the Awati Prefecture, there are said to be Yūrei that live in parlors and bedrooms. They are also known for performing pranks. Some believe that the people who see one would be visited with good fortune. Generally, these spirits have red faces and range in age from 3 to 15 years old. They have a bob haircut or very short cropped hair. Males are said to wear blackish clothes with a kasuri pattern, and the females wear a red waistcoat or kosode or a furosode kimono. They like causing mischief. They are said to leave ash footprints. They have been known to turn over mattresses to keep people from sleeping. There are also stories of them playing with young children. Another story is that they will follow foreign visitors home from the shrine at Harashin and teach their children an Awatsi nursery rhyme. Since these spirits can bring good fortune, it is believed that if you build a house, you should bury a golden ball under the floors. This will entice the Zashiki Warashi to enter and bring good luck. Now, typically, these spirits are only seen by direct family members or children. Now, I also found a story that it's frequently found in Japanese literature that a parent will be counting its children and end up with an extra child, not realizing that they have found one of these spirits in their house. Last thing I want is an extra child.
Yeah, no. I did not know.
I don't know. So let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. These are ubumi, which are the Yūrei of pregnant women who died either in the latter part of their pregnancy or during childbirth.
Birth gets it. Yep, nope.
One belief is that the ubumi will come back to care for their young children by giving them treats. Another version of the ubumi lure is that a passerby will see a woman carrying an infant child. The woman will rush over and give the child to the passerby and then disappear. When they look at the child in their arms, they discover it is only a bundle of leaves or a large rock. The idea of the ubumi has existed since ancient times. It was believed that if a woman died before childbirth, the fetus should be removed and placed with the mother in an embrace. If this was not allowable or feasible because of religious customs, a doll would be used instead, and this would keep the ubumi, the woman from turning into an ubumi. Now, there's some actual history behind this. The origin of the Abumi can be traced back to late medieval period of Japan. It was at this time the attitudes about motherhood were beginning to change. Rather than the infant being considered a replication of the mother and an extension of her body, the fetus started to be seen as separate from the mother. The distancing of the mother and fetus caused an emphasis on the paternal ownership of the child, reducing the mother to nothing more than a vessel for male reproduction. For a mother to die in childbirth or late pregnancy soon came to be considered a sin, the blame for the death of the unborn child being placed on the mother, who is in a sense responsible for the infant's death. So that's where this grieving soul would come from, because it didn't complete its duty. So I found that historic tidbit to tie it together interesting. Slide. Let's go to the next slide. Last two types of spirits are the Yūrei and Jabakuri. While most of the other Yūrei had a reason not to move on, these are ghosts of people unable to pass on to the afterlife because they don't know they're dead, or being unable to psychologically accept their death, so they continue to wander the earth. The Jabakuri are tied to a specific location and live out the same day over and over. Does that sound familiar? So this could be compared to a residual haunting of the world, of the Western world. I found one story of a Jabakuri spirit that walks from the kitchen of her house to the well and back over and over and over. So I touched on a lot of different things in a quick few minutes there, and I found it how fascinating how Japanese culture has classified ghosts in so many different ways. So not that this really falls into is it paranormal or not, but what do you think, Jamie? Is it?
Well, I'm going to come clean on something. I lied to you last week when I said I didn't know anything about the Yūrei. So it bothered me for a day or two, and then I went back to look at the Aokigahara episode, the notes on that, and I discussed it there. But the Japanese have such a layered culture in so many ways, and it does not surprise me that there are so many categorizations of what we would call ghosts.
Right.
And it kind of makes me think a little bit too of in the Arabic world, the jinn, as well, like the tiering of all the various, there's 6 or 7 tiers there as well. And actually Amanda's probably saying this better than I can even hear. Thank you. As usual, she says things better than I do. It's so interesting that there is such a tie to their culture, but also like everything has a story. There's nothing that's just made up for the sake of making it up. They don't say things just for the sake of saying it. There's a story or a lesson in everything, and a connection to the natural world. And that's a beautiful thing. And I thought that when I was researching, obviously the Aokigahara is about suicide, and people ending their lives for a lot of reasons.
Right.
But a lot of times it's an older individual who doesn't want to be a burden on the family, the strain in the family, and does this, and the suicide's looked upon. Even there's another place, suicide's looked upon differently in their culture, as it not being a taboo thing, but a responsibility to some degree. And that's probably a harsh way of saying it, but it's an intentionality versus a plan.
Right.
And even in the jinn was the same thing. Like there's just so many things that are so more eloquent in the world. And the natural connection with passing. Is well, there we go. We're finishing each other's sentences again. But that is it's obvious here that it's that holistic kind of approach to the afterlife, if there is one. But they have a firm belief that there is, or else this would all of the structure wouldn't exist.
Right. And I think Jenny brings up an interesting point here too. The funeral is part of the life cycle of the soul in the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Whereas in our culture, it's more for the living and closure for the living, which I never thought about it that way, but that's a good point.
It's absolutely. I was just having a conversation with somebody recently, in that pun intended, in that spirit. Sorry. That funerals are never for the dead. They're always for us, the survivors, if you will. And it's our combination way of grieving together, and allowing us to get out the last emotions we have, in public. And it's a see and be seen moment too. And I hate that part of it.
Right.
If you don't show up to someone's funeral, you're chastised for it.
Right.
But we all have a different way of grieving. Sometimes it's not in public. But it's a very fair point. That it's not the same.
Right. Yeah. And so many other cultures, like there are steps that death is a step. It's like, there's preparation once the body dies, and it's, it's that. I think that's part of the rites that we're being referred to, or as well. Like, it's just, it's laying in repose, and all those things are part of it. And so, I some of these cultures just have amazing rituals and practices.
Yeah.
So,
well, the tying of closure at death, is a big thing. And I was just reading something this week, actually, on Gettysburg, here in our area. And there were so many 51,000 people died on both sides, and one civilian, but a lot of people were buried quickly, because it's July and there's no, with that much casualty, there's no way to process anything appropriately. So there was mass burials, and there's likelihood that not everybody was exhumed, to go home. And, that's part of the reason why there's a lot of belief of why Gettysburg is so active, or believed to be active, at least, because not everybody sees the same things. But, the idea that there were those left behind who were not properly released, for lack of a better way of saying it. It's amazing. I never would have thought of that, because that's obviously, it's well before our time and the process of it all. But the deeper dive into a lot of things, you can find some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think our beliefs have changed a lot, even since the 1860s. Sure. So it's definitely intriguing. There's a lot to dig into and uncover. That didn't.
Well, we're on a roll. Might as well keep going, right?
But anyway, yeah. So I just, again, I thought it was very interesting, because we have a couple different types of spirits that we refer to. Ghosts, poltergeists, entities. There's there's a couple, but there's definitely not this layering, and even there were subcategories of, like, the first one. It's just, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, this is an interesting. So, and with respect to the place, obviously this is why we want to do this. Going back to time and time again, we've talked about this: the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator, right? Ghost hunters just go someplace and they're there, in the moment. Us as investigators, but I would consider myself an investigator. I think you do too. Would be that we're going to do the research of the place. We're going to understand what happened there, know something of the history. Now, I don't like to go in with full knowledge of everything. That's a bit of a casting of expectation, so there's got to be some mystique to it. But the back history, like the long history, is important, because things were not always what they are now.
Right. I typically like to know the history of the place, but not really the ghost stories.
The activity, the recorded history, documented the activity of it. Right.
Maybe a few of the haunts, but not what the haunts do. What I don't want to know details. I'd rather discover on my own.
Yeah, so. I agree. I totally agree. And sometimes we're pleasantly surprised by what you find without those biases in place, because you're asking for, Jim and Sue, and it's really Bob and Sandy, or whatever, and it's, we just focus the wrong way. And with that, it's like anybody else. If you and I meet for the first time and I introduce, I say I introduce myself, but you keep calling me by the wrong name, I'm going to lose interest in our conversation to the point. So, it goes, I can't imagine it's any different, and once we pass in the spirit world. That's why we don't get enough activity in places.
Maybe. Yep.
Again, I always want somebody to walk out of the wall and introduce themselves,
Right.
perfect day. Still waiting.
But the other thing that I found interesting is that there are residual haunts other places as well.
Yeah,
like that.
That is really interesting, actually. And
I think
that last segment. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think that just points to the fact that it is all about energy, and that energy has been implanted or impregnated or whatever you want to say into that space. That energy is going to live there forever.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, and it shows a lot for the passion of people to the places they're associated to. They have an attachment. That's the wrong way of, I assume attachments or otherwise, but
right.
I mean, I have a favorite place that I've lived. A place I grew up in, my childhood home, for lack of a better way of calling it. Is still my favorite place I've ever lived. I love that house. I've loved plenty other places too. Nothing wrong with the place I live. Otherwise, but
right.
If I have a choice, then I can go back somewhere. That's where I'm headed. So you'll find me at 216 Cherry Street. Okay, just so you know.
You're gonna have to meet Chris one of these days, Jamie. Chris did have this experience happen to him, and it was.
Oh, hey, okay. There's a story here. Okay.
Yeah. Stay tuned to Netflix at some point, but
more to come.
More to come, but yeah. So.
Well, for context, Christopher, I say this at Booby's Brewery all the time. Alois Booby is the patriarch of the family. He's a known presence. But I say to folks that when we lead out and off the investigation, kick it off, like setting expectations, like we set some ground rules where you can and can't go, then the idea of what to expect while we're doing this, we're going to be in the dark, you're going to be around each other, kind of stuff. And I guarantee no one's going to walk out alone or introduce themselves. So you're going to have to understand we're going to teach you how to use equipment, but you're also going to understand that your senses are going to come into play as well. And, this conversation about it. And, I think somebody does expect somebody to walk out of the wall. Honestly, it's just, we watch too many movies or, stuff where we see these, all the entertainment values. It's just, it's an unrealistic expectation. So I want to try to curb that, and I also say 99% of the time we walk around the dark talking to ourselves, because nothing may happen,
right.
But the 1%
right.
is the drive that gets us all coming back, or the thought that 1% could happen while we're there, is the drive that gets us coming back and again and again. And that's why we review evidence with equipment. So, but it's I'm still waiting for that day. I guess I am. You right. Give me pause to say that now. So, okay.
So, and Chris, I would really appreciate this comment. So thank you so much for saying that. Yeah. So did you have one that intrigued you the most, Jamie?
Well, yes and no. It's a little bit personal, so bear with me.
Yeah.
I lost my mom when I was 4 months old. So the maternal one is a hit for me. That bond, and I'm a guy, so I can't speak to the bond that women have with children. I'm never going to understand that fully, but I know the loss that I've had of losing my mom. And it's a deep thing. But that connection, with children and their parents, and the idea that the children are a separate category by themselves as well. How many times have we been out somewhere and, there's a ghost or believed to be a presence of a child? The brewery has its spirits, and Ani and Tekla and in the ballroom, so, we make contact that way.
Right.
We were at the Haldeman, we had toys in Ani's room there, in Jacob's room, and that, would at times be interacted with, balls moving and other things. So, it's always tragic to lose a child, right? So, right. And that one, both between the two, they're both one is more personal than the other, but the other one is it's a touch.
Okay.
For sure.
And it's when talking about investigating places where we know that we believe that children are, the energy is always different.
Yeah,
it's always it's always, I don't want to say always, it's typically more of a vibrant energy and a playful, and so it's sort of
serious at times, right? Yeah,
like so where they say pranksters and things like that, I sort of get that even with some of our experiences at the brewery with the kids playing games and hide and go seek and stuff like that. It's interesting. So I feel like we have some of these categories. We just don't realize that we have some of these categories.
That's a good point.
So,
what for you stood out or struck you most?
I not that I have the personal connection, but I feel like the mother child relationship, the mother coming back and caring for the children, giving them treats, looking for somebody to care for her children. Like, I feel like that's what the spirit handing the bundle was actually trying to make that connection, or at least maybe it's giving her the closure that she's passed this child on to somebody else. So I just found that interesting. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
So, and that seems to be what the Japanese culture is all about, is finding closure for these spirits.
Yeah.
So,
and that's in the end of the day, isn't that really, what we all deserve in a large sense of it? We hope to have for ourselves, and others can help us find.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right, Amanda.
Yeah.
All of those things. And, the interesting thing was scared. I think when we first started doing the brewery, we had some of that. There's apprehension, at least, of what are you doing? And as we've been the opportunity of being there for a few years now, we build a relationship, of hopefully mutual trust. We're not pulling any stunts or anything. We're just trying to communicate and connect and document. But it matters that way. You're not there. And this is, again, this difference between investigator and hunter. We're not there for the thrill and the pop. We're there for the long run.
Well, I think that authority figure, we actually, we have some recent things like that. Our last trip to Whitehill, when I was upstairs with Amanda and several other people, we had at least one, if not two, children up there who felt like they were being shunned from authority, or pushed in there from authority, or hiding from authority. We weren't sure what it was. But then when we were at the Commonweal, we also had the spirit. We don't know what age that spirit was in, but he was definitely had some fear of an authority figure.
Yeah, agreed. Well, even with the brewery, with Aloisa's presence as the patriarch, we've come to understand that we need to ask permission, or at least seek permission or approval to connect with the kids. That's something too. With consideration, the parents is still there to protect the kids.
They liked ice cream. I had a whole section of tape where I had digital recording where I had left the digital recorder up there, and they were I was listening, getting hungry for ice cream.
Oh wow!
Because they spent like 10 minutes talking about ice cream and candy.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. There's more. I think we need to see this. I'm not sure what's going on, but I need to see that. So we'll wait for a video submission.
So,
guys. Well, I appreciate this episode, Chad. I think it was a hard topic because of the language barrier, and
I'm sorry. I apologize to
you for trying. Trust me, when I did Aokigahara, it was the same thing. There was so much stuff. I just kind of tried to trade words wherever I could. But titles, names, official things, you have to go with it, and you have to roll. It's not going to get any better for me when I do an episode coming up in a couple of weeks on the Sigua Nanaba. So it's a lot of Spanish that I'm actually better at than I think I am sometimes, but there's quite a bit of it. So I will do my best. But it's a challenge when there's language, first of all, and so much that is you want to be respectful and not hack your way through,
right,
or make light of it as well. So I really appreciate your intentionality and your detail. It's really cool.
Thank you,
as always. A true professional, sir.
So, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So,
of course.
Anybody else have any thoughts? Thanks, Jenny.
This one from Amanda. Well, thank you. That's kind. I just follow Chad's lead. He's the adult one in this group, and you guys know that.
Well, and anything else you want to cover here, Jamie, before we move on?
I don't think so. Again, thank you. It was a really interesting topic, and I'm always intrigued by different cultures, and that, I go back to the gin episode. It brought a lot of that back to me as I was listening to the tiering and the kind of the strata. And in that one though, it's kind of like a caste system, and here it is not. It's truly just a categorization.
Right.
There's so many different ways in the world outside of our views that are unique.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
appreciate it.
And if you guys have topics that you'd like us to dig into, please let us know. I mean, we're glad that you like the varied topics that we do, but send us some ideas. We're always trying to pull new things out, and we want to cover what's interesting to you. So
absolutely. And we have, we're into August, I think, with stuff scheduled. But that doesn't mean we can't bump something, because you're about to see.
You are. I've got a whole bunch of blanks to fill in there, Jamie.
Okay, yeah, you are too. I was just being nice. Okay, we're a team, dude. But we have a lot of stuff coming up. But as you'll see with the schedule, there was a comment a week or two ago about Eastern State Penitentiary, so it got squeezed in. I'm happy to bump stuff, to find a new topic, something close to. Let's keep it current that way to what folks are asking for. But if there's anything, it doesn't have to be a place. It could be a topic. It could be a story to follow. We're pretty flexible. So we're, the cool thing, and I said this before many episodes ago, and I'll say it probably a few more times along the way. I don't think we knew exactly what we were getting into well over a year ago, when we were planning this. And by the time we launched and what we've gotten into, and I'm uniquely excited and sometimes terrified with the amount of stuff we learn and how to make it fit here, into a package presentation. But I'm really grateful that we've done this, Chad, and for you guys for coming along with us on this journey. But I've learned so many things that I would never talked about or touched on, because I wouldn't have been looking for it, Right. And there's to say that much. There's a gazillion other things out there, So I don't think we're going to be very gray by the time we wrap this thing up someday. We're grayer than we are anyway. With the stuff that's out there in the world. So it's been fun. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. So,
all right, let's move on.
All right. Well, then let's see. Let's talk about what we've got coming up with the team.
Yeah, so we're not next week, 29th, 2 weeks out. So 3 weeks. This week is the 8th. 3 weeks away. We have another public investigation at Booby's Brewery. 17 tickets are left there. And then 2 weeks after, we're going to be back again on July 13th, and about a month after on August 10th, and about a month after on September 7th. Every week we say we have more dates. We just haven't gotten them posted yet. It's not us. It's the brewery. And it's not a bad thing. It's just there's a limited amount of capacity, and people wear many, many hats there, as small businesses do. So they will be coming. We have some exciting stuff to share that I just can't wait to talk about, but I can't until it gets posted. So there's going to be some fun happening in the fall this year. So keep an eye on it. We'll share it as soon as we have it as well here, of course. But you can always go to boobiesbrewery.com for the tickets for the events that are open at this point. It's just more to come. Many cool things to come.
Yep.
And then episodes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we weren't kidding. We have some stuff planned out. So next week I'm going to tackle Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, which is one of my very, 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 very favorite places on the planet. And I've been around the country a lot. And I keep coming back here, and I keep going there. So it's been a travel point for me since I was a young teenager in our family. As a pass through to other places, we'd always stop and stay for a while. But and then as an adult, I've been back many times. So hopefully I can share something you don't know.
Well, I hate to say this, Jamie, but I've never been there.
What the fuck? Oh, man, I was cursed. Really?
Yeah, really. It's why I want to get there, but I'm afraid I won't want to leave either. Is the other part of it. But
wow. Well, I'm gonna share something about what to do. So I got you.
Okay.
The week after, on the 18th, Chad's going to tackle the Hotel Hershey here in Hershey, PA, local to us. Really cool, neat place as well. And then the week after, here it is, where I'm going to butcher the entire Spanish language with La Ciguanaba. And then the requested episode on the Eastern State Pen. It's going to be Chad. We're going to take a break on July 9th. Chad's going away, and I don't know how to make this stuff work. So, and instead of trying to make it work and break it, we're just going to take a week off. Called our summer vacation. We'll come back with a book report. Don't worry. And then on July 16th, we have a special episode on the Haldeman Mansion, which those of you who know Jott-Nyx Paranormal, that was our original home base before Booby's Brewery. So I've personally had the chance to investigate there probably 100 times, 75 to 100. It's a lot over the years. A really cool original property to Lancaster County and to what was once the western end of the Pennsylvania colony. Here at the Susquehanna River was the stopping point for many because of the river itself. So there's a lot there. We're going to tackle it. And we have special guests, Jerry and Melissa Keller, the founders of Jott-Nyx, who lived on the property for a while as we were the host there. So they have some unique stories to tell that go beyond just the public stuff that we were able to do. So that's going to be a fun one. So thank you for your market calendars there.
And then, not that we have them all listed out, but we're talking about doing the Bainbridge Inn at some point, maybe be doing a non-location there.
Going live from the bar. Us live at a bar. How bad could that go?
Brown Mountain Lights. I'm not even going to try the other one that you've got listed there. And then Tulpa. So
let's see. We're after Brown Mountain. What is that one?
Something forest.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll just make it easy. Romania's Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, okay.
So there is a forest in Romania that is a triangle shape, and odd things happen in it, and mostly paranormal things. So I'm gonna make an effort at that one too. That's another one where I'm gonna butcher the language, whatever I speak in Romania.
So, well, Jamie, we talked about this before the show, but maybe somebody out there can give us an idea for Halloween, around Halloween. So
that's true. Yeah,
if you got a thought, how it would be like the Tuesday before Halloween is when our normal show would be, but maybe we move it to Thursday, or we'll see. But give us an idea.
Thursday this year, right? So we talked about the idea of what we did last year was we went to the Hansgrohe Cemetery and did the 7 circles around it under the light of a full moon, hoping that we would find the white werewolf, and not really hoping that we'd find it. Hoping it wouldn't find us, but it would appear.
Right.
We could see it from a distance, maybe, and then escape. But the premise is if you do that and you circle under the full moon, we wouldn't make it back. So, we made it back. So we debunked that. And I know Jay from our team has been there a few times since under the same circumstances. So, something like that, perhaps. Here's a great idea too. The origin of Halloween. Maybe. And sometimes these things aren't what we think they are. So that's a great idea, actually. We've commercialized so much stuff and Hollywoodized it even, for profit, that the real origins aren't what we think they are. So that's a great idea, Amanda. Thank you.
I like that. So,
all right. But other ideas too. We're open. Apparently we have nothing else to do. It's not true, but true. So,
right.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
And we have a little bit of time to figure it out too. Of course you know this. Of course. We might need a guest that night then. Hint, hint.
Wait, Jamie, you talked about going live on location. This is,
dust off your passports, buddy. We're heading east.
Yeah.
All right, I think the Lynches may have something to add to that episode. So
and it sounds like Amanda wants to go too. So
yeah. All right. Well,
charter flight. We'll just.
Here's a funny thing, and in Lancaster City there is a place called Telus 360. It's an Irish pub that was started many years ago as a free trade store. And as it grew and expanded, it started to transition into a public house, which, as the Lynches will know, that's where everybody in Ireland goes, for the news of the day, the meal, the pint, the socialization kind of thing. And it is expanded into now 3 or 4 floors. It's this huge prospect, but they are Irish folk, and they bring Islanders over. The Irish come here and they have jobs and at least in some kind of transition for a while. And then because of their connection, they have a Irish travel agent arrive here a couple times a year. It's usually twice a year, and they do trips to Ireland and it's a flight over, a trip around the island. Not the same as what the Lynches have recently done, where they've stayed in castles and been really cool things, and then long-term stay. It's about a week. But the idea is it could be a connection there that could get us there and get us to some of those places. So I loosely know the person who runs that. So maybe it's a reach out, but it's also in October, which is less than 6 months away. So I don't know.
Maybe I don't think that's going to fit into my plans for this year. So, yeah. But
I went to Disney earlier this year, remember, for that research trip. So
yep, exactly. So, this one sounds interesting too. So, yeah, maybe we'll have to look at this. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Okay.
So,
shows. So here's how to find us on the socials, the usual stuff. Obviously, either found us on Facebook or YouTube tonight, but we also have an Instagram and a TikTok account. So some good stuff there to figure us out and where to find us and connect and engage. Just give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll update you with stuff that we're up to and how we're doing it. So,
yeah.
All right.
So, well, like you usually say, Jamie, we couldn't do this without all our guests who come on, who support us during the show, who come and watch, when we're not live. We really appreciate that. We couldn't do it without you. We could sit here and talk, but that just isn't the same. It's nice getting the feedback from everybody. So yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for your comments on how much you enjoy it. That helps us keep going.
It does. It really does. Thank you. It's good to know we're not walking around in the dark talking to ourselves.
Because we do that enough.
We do that a lot. Yeah.
So, well, any final thoughts, Jamie?
I just one, and I'm not going to show it, but after the conversation started about Ireland, the chat has exploded down with I'm going, I'm down, all that stuff. So we started something there.
Yep.
I think, and we'll have to figure that out maybe someday.
Yeah.
Same to you as well. Thank you for coming tonight. It's good to see you again. And now that we're finally Facebook friends, I think we can connect as well there. So it's a long time coming. So good deal.
So, well, glad that connection happened. So.
Thanks, Bert. Good to see you again too. Catch you soon.
So, all right. Well, if nothing else, thank you very much, Jamie. I will see you sometime this week, I'm sure.
Sooner than later. Yeah, always is. So that's okay with me.
Yep.
All right, my friend.
All right.
Yeah, everybody. Take care. Thank you.
Good night. Yep.